everyone, and welcome to another Scots Whay Hae podcast. And today I'm joined once again by Jess Orr, who is the Associate Programmer for the Paisley Book Festival, which is on this year between the 25th and 27th of April. Hello, Jess.
Hello, nice to be here.
So before we look at this year's festival and get really into the details, can you give us some history to the Paisley Book Festival and your own involvement?
Yeah, of course. So the festival started in 2020, February. We used to hold it in February, but we've moved it now to April. It feels a little bit more spring-like in April. It started as part of the Future Paisley program, kind of big program of cultural investment into Paisley. So it feels like we've been on quite a journey from when we started, before some of the venues in the town, like the Paisley Arts Centre, had been renovated, and now here we are 6 years later, and we're surrounded by some really lovely venues, including the Paisley Central Library, which has won, I think, architectural awards for its renovation, the Arts Centre, the museum, and our main venue now, which is the Paisley Town Hall, which, for anyone who hasn't been, it's really quite a stunning building, and we're just so thrilled to get to run our festival there.
It's so interesting because I think the growth of the festival and the regeneration of Paisley, it has seemed to have gone hand in hand as you've got bigger, so to speak. You've been able to use these fantastic venues. The library I only visited this year for the first time, and it's something else.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're in the town hall predominantly, but also the Paisley Central Library is going to host a lot of the family day events and quite a few of the workshops as well. I mean, they're both beautiful buildings, and I really felt, after I spoke to you last year, obviously we delivered the first festival in that venue, and people's faces as they come through the doors, oh, wow, this is amazing. Because I think, I guess the nature of book events and book festivals is that they don't actually need that much in terms of space and in terms of technical setup. So a lot of authors are used to doing events in all manner of different spaces, from like a little back room in a bookshop to, a tent to whatever. And I think when we get such a kind of landmark, stunning, gorgeous space as the Paisley Town Hall, you could just see people's faces as they came through the door, as I said. So it was really special. I'm really excited to go back.
It is one of those spaces that when you go in, it's been done up so beautifully that you're really just glad to be there. And then you've got the events as well.
Yeah, and we're going to be on the same weekend again this year as the Paisley Food and Drink Festival. So you've got the events happening inside, and on the Friday and the Saturday, you've also got the Food and Drink Festival happening outside. So it was a real buzz last year. We were lucky with the weather. Hopefully we'll be lucky again. It gave audiences a chance to kind of come and go out and get some food and enjoy the sunshine, as well as coming into the events. So it should be good. It almost feels like the proper start of spring, summertime, I think, that weekend. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And for people that maybe don't know the food festival, it's not just a few food trucks. It's significant, it's a lot of people selling their wares.
Yeah, it is. It's big. I had never been before, so it was a first time for me. I wish I'd had a bit more time to go out and eat the lovely food, but I was mostly running around. But there was lots of, community choir performances. They had the storytelling wagon. So there's a lot of kind of crossover as well between the kind of the cultural aspects of the Food and Drink Festival. I think they're planning to have some more music at the Food and Drink Festival this year as well. So we've also got a music strand as part of our program, which we'll maybe come on to, and we also have a food themed event. So we're trying to find ways that we can work together with that festival to, cross-pollinate and create a kind of cultural vibe.
So the festival usually has a theme or idea behind it. And what's this year's? And, what are the reasons for it?
Yeah, so I've realised I fluctuate from like our first ever festival, which was all about the anniversary of the Paisley Radicals, the 200th anniversary. Yeah. And so it was, I guess, quite a historically themed festival, thinking about the history and the legacy of Paisley, and how that comes through into today. So I've realised I tend to kind of flip-flop year on year between a festival that maybe looks to the past for some answers about life and its meaning, and then a very kind of now focused festival, or possibly even, and then a future folk. We've had a few future themes as well. I think last year was quite a future oriented theme. This year just felt to me like a year that we should think about the now and really focus on the way that we live now. So our theme is the lives we live. And it was really inspired by, I guess, this idea that we all spend too much of our time, online on social media or watching the TV, whatever it is. We're kind of surrounded by all these ideas about how we should live, what we should eat, how to travel, how to, connect with our environment, and how to react to really difficult things that are happening in the world. And it's extremely overwhelming. And I think as individuals, we can feel quite disempowered about how we even begin to feel or react or do anything about what's around us. And so I really wanted to bring the focus of this festival into the present moment, into what's happening for people now, what they're thinking about, what they're dreaming about, and I, give them a space to do that, because for me, from when I was first involved in book festivals a long time ago, they always just really struck me as spaces where, it's not just, a tweet of a certain number of characters. It's a proper amount of space to sit and to hear from writers who've not just given something a moment's thought, but they've given something probably years of thought that's gone into the planning and the writing and the publishing of their book. So, book festivals are these spaces where we can really unpack issues that it would be really easy to kind of dismiss or to try and compress into like a nugget shape to post online. But realistically, these issues are really complex, and those could be really everyday issues like eating healthily, or as I said earlier, how to travel, and look after the environment, or more complex and more difficult issues that don't have easy answers. So yeah, the lives we live really gave us a nice broad scope to just look at what are writers saying, what have they been thinking about, and how can they give us some wisdom about how we live our lives.
And what I think about festivals, often the really interesting conversations you hear or have in the kind of the crowd, the audience coming out, or maybe queuing up to get a copy of the book, and they're chatting about what they've just heard and what they've just seen and all of those things. And that's a real kind of buzz side to it. People don't just go and listen and then leave. There's a lot more discussion goes on.
Yeah. And I guess this is something that a lot of book festivals are always trying to think of ways that they can encourage audiences to continue the conversation, that the event itself is really just the spark. And then when you come out, like you said, you've got that chance to meet the author, get your book signed, chat to other audience members, see what else is on that day, go and grab some food at the festival outside the doors and carry on that chat with whoever you were sitting with. So yeah, that's really what we're aiming for, with these festivals, is to give that space for dialogue and proper discussion about things, and to meet with people who maybe don't share your point of view, but to be able to understand that difference.
And before we get into the details of the program, we should let people know where they can find those details and get tickets and all of those things.
Yeah, so our website is paisleybookfestival.com, and on there you should find all the details about what's happening and all the events, and you can book tickets. And we're really proud again this year, aside from a few of our headline events, which I think are still very much an affordable price, that the vast majority of our events are on a pay what you can model. So, most of our events you can come to for as little as a few pounds. So we're really trying to make it accessible and encourage people to not just go to the events of the authors that they already know, but to try something new, to take a risk, and to be able to go to multiple events as well. I think is, festivals are about coming and indulging in a few different things in one day, so we want to make the pricing so that people can afford to come to a few things and really throw themselves into it.
And the program's broken down into kind of 3 strands this year: Life's Fundamental, the Writer's Playlist, and Poet's Corner. Can you talk about those strands?
Yeah, so I mean, I'd say that I guess the 2 core strands that we usually always have 2 sort of thematic strands. I mean, the one that I suppose I mentioned earlier is the Writer's Playlist, and that this is a strand we've wanted to do for quite a long time because of Paisley's rich music history. And we wanted to do an event where we paired authors people who are known for being authors and writers of books, but who actually also love music and make music, and then pairing them with musicians who also now have written books, to sort of look at the cross-pollination between literature and music. So we're really thrilled as part of that we've got musicians including Stuart Murdoch's frontman of Bell and Sebastian, and the Fife folk singer James Yorkston, speaking with authors such as Malachi Talek, whose latest book comes alongside a new album of country songs that he's created, and also David Keenan, whose latest book was known very much as a novelist, but his latest book really traces his years running the Volcanic Tongue music shop in Glasgow. So we've got some great headline events there, but we've also got a really brilliant Paisley music trail, which is going to be a walking tour around Paisley, running both on the Saturday and the Sunday, sort of exploring the history of Paisley and the Paisley music scene. And a lovely community event as well with Katie Lironi, whose kind of book kind of traces her love of music and her family's love of music alongside raising their family, which includes Matilda, their middle child, who has Down syndrome. And that's going to include a performance from Choir 21, which is, I think, Scotland's only Down syndrome choir. So a really nice mix of things there, just exploring stories and songs. And then our other kind of main strand is called Life's Fundamentals, and this is the one that probably links most closely to our overall theme of the festival, really looking at sort of having 6 panel discussions about different aspects of everyday life. So food, adventure, love, home, work, and belief. And we've got different authors coming together to talk about just their perspectives on different parts of everyday life, really, that impact all of us, and everyone can connect to in different ways. So got the Hebridean baker coming back, and Julie Lynn on a panel to talk about food. And Kirsty Logan's coming back with her No and Other Love Stories, kind of dark side of love and the romance genre. And Rachel Atala as well with the Salt Flats in an event with Chris Kohler with their books that kind of deal with ideas around belief and faith or disbelief even. So yes, there's a whole mixture of things going on there. And then Poets Corner is really, obviously poetry is a really important part of the festival. And I really wanted to create a space this year to showcase some really exciting new voices in Scottish poetry, and voices who are maybe familiar but who have new collections coming out. I really wanted to platform those. So every day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday from 1 till 2 p.m, we've got the Poets Corner, which is just an hour listening to, hearing from 3 poets, 3 Scottish poets with their new work, and each of those sessions has a kind of slightly different theme to it. So yeah, those are our kind of key strands, and then in amongst that, we've obviously got lots of other things as well.
And before we talk about those other things, it made me wonder, as a programmer, how do you approach a new festival? Do you have ideas and then fit authors into them, or do you? I mean, how does it work for you?
That's a good question. Yeah, it's sort of like quite an organic process, I suppose, which is what's really nice about it. I think initially what I do is I tend to reach out to everybody I know, including obviously a lot of publishers, about what's coming up, what's coming out, what books to look out for, who's got new work coming out. And then once I've started to build a bit of a list of ideas of books that I know are coming out, and that kind of helps to then feed into the process of what might the thematic focus of this year be. And I think, you're always looking to keep it broad enough that you can fit lots of things underneath that. But, to give the festival a bit of a focus. So I would say that those 2 things, the kind of ideas around the theme and what the strands might be, kind of develops hand in hand in tandem with what you're getting, what people are sending you, what's landing in your inbox. This year, for the first time, I was really pleased to go to Publishing Scotland's office and have a whole day of meetings with independent Scottish publishers, which I'd never really managed to do before, but I think it will be an annual thing now, because I got to find out about what loads of smaller Scottish publishers are bringing out at the moment, which I maybe wouldn't have otherwise been aware of. So it's a really sort of it's an ever evolving process every year. And, every year after the festival program comes out, I always spot something and think, oh gosh, that looks brilliant, and you can never fit everything in, but you do your best to capture a moment in time of what's coming out and who haven't we showcased before. I think that's the other thing, because we're on festival number 6 as well. So we're really lucky. We've had so many amazing Scottish writers now. So it's, who haven't we had yet? Who would be really great to have at this year's festival.
And so does that work for you, almost begin straight after, this year? Will it start for 2026 almost straight away, thinking about these such things?
Yeah, not quite. I would say probably, well, I mean, I guess lucky to be quite closely connected with Edinburgh Book Festival. So I think for me,
Yeah.
that Edinburgh Book Festival is probably my starting point, in that I'll use August as a chance to go and see lots of events there. Yeah, that's kind of like around the time of the brainstorming phase. And then sort of from September, October onwards, you're starting to formulate that into a theme. I mean, I do think it's quite a time sensitive thing, because like I say, if you start the process too early, you might find that you're not, you kind of want to get it at the right moment where, publishers lists are coming up for the spring. So sometimes if you get in touch in August, September, they might not quite know yet what their timelines are for sort of March, April. And that's not to say that everyone in the program has a book coming out this month. They absolutely don't. But you always have to get that kind of sweet spot of when you're reaching out to find out what people have coming out in the spring. So yeah, it's not exactly straight after the festival. That would be quite exhausting. But give my brain a little bit of a break before that.
And I guess also time to reflect on what's been, and how it has gone for another year.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, mostly after each festival, I'm actually quite buzzing, because obviously if it's gone well, then it's, that feeling of, oh, it all came off, that was great. And it was great to see people actually come to the events that were in my head for so long. But yeah, absolutely. Having that time to reflect immediately on, oh, what would I do next? What would you do next? How could we use that space a bit differently? Or what worked about that format of event? That side of it that I'm maybe thinking about initially after each festival. And then in terms of who's going to actually be in those events, that comes a little bit later.
Now, I've learned from experience that when I ask people who are involved in festivals and programmers, is there anything you're particularly looking forward to? It's a bit like asking them to choose between their children, and they go, oh, no, I couldn't possibly. Or now, are you different to that? Or, I mean, I do have some highlights that I thought I could mention, and that kind of.
I mean, I'm not different to that. I could give you some, but to be honest, Alistair, I'm more interested to hear about yours.
Oh,
So
okay. Well,
you tell me.
well, it's really based on books that I've just read, and quite a lot of them fairly recently. So as you say, a lot of them have come out this year or are just about to come out. And There She Goes, Issa Aldegheri. I just read that fairly recently. I spoke to Issa on the podcast. What a fantastic book that is. You spoke about travel, and that's what this is about. Essays by women on travel, but the definition of travel kind of is fantastically looked into and changed. There's essays on staying, what it is to stay, what it is to journey in all these different ways. I just think it's a fantastic book, and I'd love to hear some of the people involved talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I went to the launch of that book down in Portobello in Edinburgh a couple of weeks ago, and it was such a buzz in the room, and they had quite a few of the contributing authors reading from the book. So, yeah, I mean, after that, I thought, oh, I want to bring all of them to Paisley, but we do. We have 3 of the writers involved in the book coming to talk about their contributions, and I really get a nice kind of wide section of ideas. But yeah, it's such an exciting book. As soon as I found out about it, I knew we wanted to have it at Paisley.
And you mentioned Kirsty Logan and No and Other Love Stories, another book I've just recently read and reviewed. And when you say they're dark, oh, you're not wrong. They are really dark, but fantastic.
Yeah, and Kirsty, we're really pleased to be bringing the Irish writer Sean Hewitt to speak with Kirsty, because Sean's book Open Heaven is his first novel, I think. Is mostly known as a poet. So this has been, quite long awaited, and I think to have Sean come and speak with Kirsty, they're both so highly acclaimed now, and there's, they're very different books. I think that was the other thing that came up a lot this year, was not being afraid to actually put 2 different books together, because it's amazing what we can find, the connections we can find in books that on the surface have quite different tones to them, but there is a kind of darkness and a sort of in both of them in different ways, which I'm really excited for that one too.
And I'm very excited about the music section. Paisley Music Trail. I mean, it sounds so interesting to do that. I know they do something similar in Glasgow. So yeah, that'll be fun to see who gets mentioned and where.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
James Yorkston and Malachi Talak, both books which I absolutely loved, and both fantastic musicians as well. James perhaps better known than Malachi, but that album is stunning and really moving, actually, as is the novel itself.
Yeah, and we're lucky we've got some really great chair people for our music events. So Nicola Megan is going to chair that event with James and Malachy, and then Vic Galloway is going to chair the event with Stuart Murdoch and David Keenan. So yeah, they're going to be really unmissable conversations, I think. There's so much we would have loved to pack into that strand, I have to say. And once you start digging under the surface, the number of musicians that you realize have written books in the last few years, whether it's memoirs, novels, or whatever it is oh yeah, it's amazing. So yeah, maybe something to repeat in the future so we can fit more of them in. And I think it's something that people will enjoy. It's a really fun one for audiences. Because I know when I mentioned at the start about our theme, maybe it sounded a bit serious, this kind of examination of the lives we live. But actually, I should really say that the part of the inspiration for that theme is just to celebrate the joy of life as well, So having these different panels on, food for the soul, and different things what are the things that actually make life meaningful, and sometimes those are the really everyday, just fun things. We've got a brilliant workshop called Feeling Fashion, a writing workshop on clothes, and this is with Cassie Ritchie, who's an expert on Prince, on the musician Prince. Yeah, she's written a PhD and a book about the musician Prince and his fashion. And she's going to do a writing workshop, but asking people to bring garments and clothes, and using the kind of creativity of clothing to inspire creative writing. We've also got the local poet Donna Matthew doing a yoga poetry workshop. So come to the workshop, do some yoga, and then write some poetry. So I think it really comes through actually in our workshop strand this year of not just traditional writing workshops, but using really fun and interactive kind of multi-medium things to get us thinking about creative writing, and hopefully in that way making it very accessible to people who maybe haven't done any writing before, that it's maybe something they would enjoy.
And you mentioned celebrating life and kind of life affirming. Well, I did an event last week with Katie Laroni and just some of Choir 21, and you're guaranteed that that's going to be life affirming. It's one of the most fantastic things.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that. We've just been working out the logistics of, how many people we need to fit on the stage and all that kind of thing. But yeah, it felt really important to us to have that aspect of the music strand as well, because for most of us day to day, music, and I think especially choirs and community choirs, are so popular these days, and are a really lovely way of being with other people and enjoying music, but not in a way where there's a huge amount of pressure or where you're expected to come along with vast amounts of talent or knowledge. Community choirs are so great for that, just bringing people together to enjoy music. So yeah, it'll be good.
And you mentioned workshops, and there are other parts of the festival. You've got Family Day. What kind of does that entail?
Yeah, so the Family Day is actually yet to be released, so I can't actually speak about the details of it until I think maybe next week. But keep your eyes peeled. Yeah, maybe by the time this goes live, it will have been released. So Family Day will be taking place on Saturday, the 26th. And it's a whole day of just fun family events taking place in and around the same venues as the rest of the program. It's really interactive, lots of sort of lively sort of storytelling, and interactive activities and things for kids. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that, because that's such a cool part of why we exist, to try and inspire the next generation to enjoy books as well.
And when we spoke last year, I think we spoke quite a bit about the schools program. Are you doing that? Is that happening again this year?
Yeah, so the schools program is happening again this year. It's going to be running from, I think, the Wednesday or the Thursday, I think it's the middle of that week, right through until the end of that week. And we've got 6 writers this year. We've got including Brian Conahan, Lindsay Littleson, Barbara Henderson. Really excited to have Joseph Coelho coming along to do some schools events as well with us this year. David McPhail, Tom Palmer. So a nice selection of authors that will be going into both primary schools, but also some events that are happening in the town hall. So I think both maybe primary and secondary are coming along to the town hall to actually have their events there. And that's a really special thing to be able to do, because I think there is a difference for children in having an author come into their school, which is great in the environment they're used to being in, to actually being taken to a venue like the Paisley Town Hall. I hope that's something that when they look back when they're older, they'll remember, I remember going there to an author event and having my book signed or whatever it was. It felt really special. It felt like a proper event, a proper day out. I hope that's how the children will feel afterwards.
I can still remember being taken to Stirling University from my school and high school in Glasgow, and to see Carol McDougall read and a few others as well. And that has stuck with me to this very day.
Yeah, yeah, oh, and absolutely. I mean, again, going back to my early days of working in festivals here in Edinburgh, you know, like the schools program, the schools gala day that happens at Edinburgh Book Festival, where it is just the whole site is taken over with schools, and there's all sorts of fun characters walking around in their costumes to sort of entertain the kids. It's a really memorable thing. So long may it continue.
And if people want to support the festival in different ways, can they do that?
Absolutely. I mean, the best thing you can do is to buy tickets. Like I said, they're really affordable. The best thing you can do is buy tickets and come along to events and support us. You can also donate via our website if you'd just like to support us more generally. And tell people about it. I think spread the words is such a crucial thing for us, as you know, still quite a young festival that's growing its profile and growing its audience. We just want people to talk about us and to say what a great time they had, and encourage people to come who haven't been before.
And people will be able to buy the books as well.
Absolutely, yes. So we're working with the Book Nook from Stewarton again this year. They've been working with us for the last 3 years, I think. They've just won Independent Bookshop of the Year for the second year running. But they've still managed to fit us into their busy schedule, and they'll be in the entranceway to the town hall for the whole weekend, selling the books by all the authors. So yeah, that's another thing you can do, is to buy the books, support the authors, support the publishers, especially the independent publishers and the Scottish publishers who'll be represented this year. So yeah.
It's always a great way. I find that if you haven't managed to ask a question during the talk, then get your book signed and you can ask it then. It's, you know, 1-to-1.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the best thing after some of our headline events last year, watching the signing queues going round the corridors of the town hall, people waiting to meet their favorite author or the author that they've seen. It's just, it's such a lovely thing to see that enthusiasm filling the space.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw some lovely interactions between people last year, telling the authors how much they and their books meant to them. And yeah, it's really heartening to see.
Absolutely.
And as we speak, we've got under a month to the festival beginning. What's your work like between now and then? Is it kind of, is the bulk of it, I take it's been done, and how do you spend your time?
Oh, we hope so. At the moment, this morning, I was creating the rota for myself and my colleague, who are the two primary people for sort of meeting and greeting and making sure all the authors are okay throughout the festival. So it was a bit of a bit of a puzzle this morning, trying to work out, right, I can probably run from there to there and then run back to there, and realizing how many steps I'm probably going to do on an average day during the festival. But we also have our volunteer recruitment is happening around this time. So we could not do the festival without our volunteers. It's such an important part of many festivals, you know, and it's such a great opportunity, because as volunteers you get to really feel like you're taking on a meaningful role in helping the events to happen and meet the authors and that kind of thing. So yeah, we'll be doing volunteer recruitment and volunteer training, getting everybody ready, making sure that all the participants have told us everything they need to tell us about what they need on the day, and making sure we can provide that, making sure that we've got all the snacks in for them. So yeah, it's quite good fun, actually. I enjoy it. And regular, obviously, meetings just to have a look at how the events are doing, and whether there's events that we want to give an extra boost and try and give a bit of extra profile to. We've been working with a really brilliant PR company this year who've managed to really help us get the word out to both the local and the national press about the festival. So we're really grateful to them. That's message matters. So thank you, Chris and team.
And we've given people a lot of information, but all the links to everything that you've spoken about, Jess, will be on the Scots Whay Hae website, so people can find them there and find all the details and further details.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll also have a pop-up box office at the town hall during the festival. So you can also just buy tickets on the day if that's what you prefer to do. But yeah, online or in person at Paisley Town Hall during the festival.
That's really good to know, because I think some people feel that if they haven't bought them online a couple of weeks in advance or something, that they may miss out. So the fact that folk can come along and grab a ticket's really good.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw that last year. I mean, we saw how that people were, and I think book festivals lend themselves to that approach in some ways. You know, you might have bought a ticket in advance to one thing that you knew
Yeah.
you wanted to go to, but then when you arrive on the day, you realize there's two other things happening the same afternoon. And I think there is a lot of really nice kind of kind of crossover between some events. Like if you like this, you'll probably also like this kind of thing. We've been having a look at events that have been really popular in previous years and thinking about how we can link those to the events this year that have a similar kinds of authors and similar kind of ideas or types of books that a similar audience might enjoy, you know. So I think that's the beauty of festivals in general, is being able to navigate through the things you know into the things that you didn't know yet, but never knew you needed to know.
Jess, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I'm really looking forward to this year's festival. It looks fantastic, and I'm sure you're as well.
I am. Can't wait to see you there. You're going to be there with us
I
at
am.
Leicester, chairing one of our events. So yeah, really excited for it. Can't wait to see you all there.
And we'll be back soon with someone completely different. Cheers.